Hey everybody. Happy Monday. I had to say happy Monday because that's my thing. I like to say happy Monday. Like to welcome people to the week, but it may not be such a happy Monday for some. This is Benzinga's Week Ahead. My name is Brent Slava. I am head of our news desk. Joined with me is Senior Vice President for Benzinga Pro, Stephen Orr. Big Beat. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. S&P 500 futures right now down 6%. That's about 179 points. We're trading well below the 3,000 level, 27.85. Crude oil, believe it or not, is actually the bigger story probably than what's happening to stocks. Crude oil down 18.5%. That's about $7 or so. 33.58 last trade per barrel in crude, and gold is trading up just about $2 per ounce or so. Not a ton of action in gold, actually. Well, a ton of developments over the weekend, Steve, and what we had to deal with right at the open were these was this market-wide circuit breaker halt. And why don't we just kick it off with that, Steve? What happened at the open today with the circuit breaker?
Right, very simple. Look, when the market falls about 7%, we have to slow it down. We got to stop it for about 15 minutes. Very simple. It reminds me of the days of 2008, 2009, 9/11, back all the way to the dot-com bubble. So I've seen this a few times. Things have chilled out. The last few times, like 9/11, obviously we saw even bigger, wider swings. But it looks like the market's chilled out. So hopefully things have calmed down a little bit, Brett, here.
And we have rebounded a good, wow, a good, I don't know, 160 points or so from the low at the open, after we resumed trade. The low was 27.15 in the SP 500 futures. Now we're trading around 27.86 or so. So the next circuit breaker, so the first one's at 7. The next one, Steve, when does that happen? We're not anywhere near that or anything, but just to try to prepare people for this, a little bit of education here.
We won't see another circuit breaker today, and let's knock on wood today. But we could see it 13%, and then of course it's at 20%. But we're not going to see any of that. But that's 13% from the next move, so it would be roughly about 15% from here. So I don't see that happening. I
Yeah,
think we're
yeah.
right now. Yep.
And so the idea with the circuit breakers, like why did the exchanges, why do they do this? What good does the circuit breaker serve investors?
Well, let's as Stacey Cunningham said, the New York Stock Exchange president, IZ president, she said this morning, it gives people a chance to pause, rethink. You've got 15 minutes to chill out a little bit and to reevaluate. Sometimes panic sets in, and sometimes algorithms are setting in, so it could set off. It could set off even bigger sell off,
There you go.
big spikes right on both sides.
Mhm.
So instead of that happening, it's just chilling us out a little bit.
And it does seem like that happened after the open, after we resumed following the circuit breaker. We did bounce back quite a bit though, so it did seem like the market kind of settled down. Why don't we get you the coronavirus update for the over the weekend? So it really does seem, at least from the numbers side of things, it really does seem like China has this contained. The concern for coronavirus now is it's spreading across the world. Let me give you a couple numbers here. So Italy was kind of the most concerning development over the weekend. Italy's cases are up to over 7,000. They canceled school until the end of March, I believe. Within the U.S., we're at about 560 cases right now. Total number. So at the end of February, there was about 80,000 confirmed cases. At the end of last week, we were at about 90,000. To start this week, excuse me, at the start of last week, we're at about 90,000. To start this week, we're at about 111,000 cases globally. France has about 1,200 cases. Germany, about 1,100 cases. Spain, about 1,000 cases. Again, within the U.S., we're at about 500 cases or so. Concerning headline from over the weekend that we heard out of China's top epidemiologist said that the global virus outbreak could last until June. Any quick things that you think I missed there, Steve, on the coronavirus update?
Yeah, very simple. If you want to know just how bad or how not so bad things are, I always look at Disney. They make those decisions, they make those planning, and if Disney closes, then things are bad. Right now, Disney is not closing, and for the last I heard, that things are going very well. And it's very busy at Disney World.
Good segue there, Steve. Thank you for that. So, just to give a quick update on some of the events, major events that have been canceled as of the end of last week, and these are some major events. South by Southwest was canceled late Friday. That is one of the largest events gatherings that happens in the United States. It was scheduled March 16th to 22nd. We don't really have any cases in Texas, that out of Austin, Texas, but I'm sure the promoter for South by Southwest doesn't want all these people coming into the city and potentially, causing a chain reaction there. One of the bigger music fests in the United States, Ultra Music Fest, was canceled. That's at the end of March. IBM Think 2020 big tech conference that was scheduled for the beginning of May. That isn't going to be canceled, but they're going to change it to a digital only event, and you can imagine what the ramifications of that would be. Google's I/O 2020 event that starts at the beginning of May. So that was canceled. So we are seeing things that are going out a couple months here that are still getting canceled. And what we don't want to see is we don't want to see those cancellations continue. We don't want to see this to continue having an economic impact. And unfortunately, it does seem like it's going to be that way. Steve, jumping over real quick to what happened over the weekend with oil. So as we were leaving the market on Friday last week, we were still getting headlines out of the delegates coming out of the OPEC meeting. The Saudi energy minister, he left that OPEC plus meeting that was Friday. He made no comments. He left the meeting like pretty much right after it started, at least what I heard. The Iranian oil minister said that, quote, this was one of the worst meetings in OPEC history. There is going to be another meeting. There's going to be an OPEC Joint Technical Committee meeting that's going to be on March 18th. But what it bubbles down to is the Saudis are going to be creating some kind of price war after they couldn't get consideration out of Russia. Saudi Aramco, which is the big state-run producer in Saudi Arabia, cut the oil crude price for Arab Light to the U.S. by $7 per barrel. The IEA, excuse me, cut its 2020 global oil demand forecast by almost 1 million barrels per day. They did cite the coronavirus for that, though. They are expecting a rebound in oil demand in 2020 up to about 2.1 million barrels per day. And again, as I said at the top of the segment, crude oil is down about 18% or so, touched a low. I see under 31.50 per barrel. Steve, anything to add on the weekend oil developments?
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that OPEC isn't really OPEC anymore. It's not the OPEC of the 70s and the 80s, right? OPEC today is only one country, that's Saudi Arabia. The rest of them don't make enough oil to actually equal what Saudi Arabia puts out. And Saudi Aramco, in and of itself, has a lot of oil already pulled up out of the ground. So they don't have to have $50, $60 a barrel. They need about 28 to 30. So they really don't care. Russia, the same situation with Rosneft. They don't really need $30 a barrel. They're okay, right? They're not living day to day by their oil. Whereas Iran, Iraq, and the other oil producing company, exporting companies, right, the OPEC, really do need 30, 40, $50 a barrel. And when Al Fayadi, when he left, he was not happy, right? He was pissed off. So pretty much telling you that OPEC may be breaking up.
I wouldn't. I would let you say it. I wouldn't say that, but I would let you say it. So, a couple notable economic data points that we got coming up this week. Given the sensitivity of oil right now, we are going to highlight the crude oil figures that we do get throughout the week. Each week we get API inventory data that's at 4:30 p.m. on Tuesdays. Then on Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. we'll get that same reading, but from the EIA. This does create some volatility in oil. On Wednesday morning at 7 a.m., Steve, you're looking for a little indication that we're going to get from MBA on its mortgage applications. How come you're looking at that one? We don't normally mention that one. What's the deal this week?
Well, you know what? We need some good spots in the economy, right? And if we have very, very low rates, is it translating into new home being sold, right? And the only way to get that is by new mortgage applications, right? People have to go down into the bank and get a mortgage app. And the banks are probably flush with cash with everybody taking money out of the stock market and putting them back into cash. But for me, I want to see, is it really translating into numbers? And what's interesting right here, if you know, if that last emergency cut, if we get another cut, which what they're saying, 75% chance the next meeting, the 23rd, that if we do get at least at 50 basis points, if not 75 basis points, your 30-year mortgage went to a 20-year mortgage. So that's interesting to me.
Wow, and that data point will be out again at 7 a.m. on Wednesday. We're also going to be getting a couple readings on inflation this week on Wednesday. CPI at 8:30 a.m. on Thursday. PPI, Producer Price Index, at 8:30 a.m. Upcoming earnings this week rather quiet until Thursday. Thursday we're getting a little wave of tech names here: Oracle, Broadcom, Adobe, and also Slack, all on Thursday afternoon after the close. And then also on Thursday after the close is Gap GPS. What else is going on? Anything else, Steve? This week we got elections happening, I guess, this week, but everything's taken a back seat given what's happening in the oil market, given what's happening in the stock market and around the world with coronavirus.
Yeah, the coronavirus has been around long enough now. I want to see work. I want to see how Slack is doing, right? It should be some good earnings, right? A lot more users on Slack than staying at home. With the election, I think it should cement Biden now as being the Democrat frontrunner, and some of the big states like my own Florida will be voting. So I think that will start to cement the two between Trump and Biden.
Can I add one thing, Brent?
Spencer Israel.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in here.
Spencer is our producer of Pre-Market Prep Morning Trading Show, premarket.benzinga.com. It runs 8 to 9 a.m. Monday through through Friday. Excuse me, Spencer.
Yeah,
There's your nice intro.
No, I think we may get some data out of Macau, at least some anecdotal data out of Macau this week. So keep an eye on that. We know obviously it was closed for how many 3 weeks?
I think a month even maybe. Yeah.
So, but look for travel stocks, casino stocks have all gotten destroyed here. But I think we'll get some light data out of Macau beginning this week.
Melco is always the one that I look at when I want some like China specific gaming news, and that is ticker MLCO. Melco's down, I don't know, about $10 or so over the last, let's call it year to date or so. RCL, Spencer, Royal Caribbean was kind of the cruise liner that I had on my radar today. That stock's down about 23% today, under $50 or so. Today, this week is going to be extremely fluid. Trying to give you the week ahead as a prep for what you could see this week. But given that the market will be so fluid this week, what I just want to offer to end the segment here today is you can get a hold of Big Beat and I pretty quickly if you need to. If questions pop up while you're going about your trading business this week, you can reach us by clicking over to your Benzinga Pro platform. There's a little blue bubble in the bottom right corner. You can click that. It's called Intercom. It's our third-party chat platform. If you need questions answered by somebody on the news desk, you can click there and get a hold of the news desk really quick. You can also go into our chat that's live on Benzinga Pro, and Steve and I are hanging out in there all day. If there's questions, you could ask questions in there, and we'll get you a response. Also, a ton of other smart traders in that community. They can help too. So until next week, I hope everyone has a really good trading week. Let's turn this around, and everyone, happy trading.